Everybody claps for him today. Wait till the 7th inning of opening day.
Spicy start. Mike, so many people are really excited about the way that this roster has sort of fallen together. And look, I imagine as a general manager, the way you look at things, it can always be improved. So, Torey, my question for you is how excited are you to be able to use the guys that Mike has assembled as we get ready for 2025?
I really wasn't even listening because I heard you say Mike first, and then you threw it on me. That's an old Italian trick. I like that part of you. Okay, I'll lock it in for you. I couldn't be more excited. I'm always very grateful for the things that Mike and his group are doing day by day, and it never stops, whether it's an off season and there's some very obvious additions that I know, one just came off the stage, but these guys are working relentlessly around the clock to make days like that Corbin Burns signing happen as often as possible. So once they get to me, once they get into the dugout, once we start to get in our own little space inside of the clubhouse, that's when I enjoy it the most. I get to know these guys a little bit more personally than they might be comfortable, and I ask a lot of questions, get to know them, because I got to make decisions on their life and their livelihood. So that's where I'm at right now with a lot of guys, and I'm very eager to get this season started. I have a lot of receipts that I kept from last year. I'm very frustrated by a few things that took place, but I'm very eager to get the season started.
Definitely a frustrating finish. The team, it did get better on paper, right? You got more wins. You were the highest scoring team in the majors. Mike, it's pretty well documented by now that you're very excited to have Corbin Burns, but when you sort of look at the projection of this team, what does he do for this group as we get ready to embark on spring training and what should be a very competitive regular season?
Yeah, we talk about pitching and defense a lot, and that's been something that Torey and I have talked about for 9 years now, wanting to be really good at that, knowing that that's the backbone for every good team. We got away from that a little bit last year. We led the league in runs, and it didn't even get us into the playoffs. So you could see the difference that dominant pitching versus dominant hitting can have over the course of a season. We know that pairing the very top of our rotation with the elite talent should give us a chance to win night in and night out. And that's what you want, I think, when you're going into a baseball season. You're not going to win every game. You're not going to win sometimes, a significant percentage sometimes of your games. You go on losing streaks, et cetera, because there's so many of them. But every night you're going to walk out there with a good chance to win. And I think that is infectious for the team. I think your position players feed off of that. I think your bullpen feeds off of that. Because the bullpen guys might think, hey, we need to be ready, but most nights it's not going to be the 5th, it's going to be the 7th, the 8th, or the 9th. I think that helps them from a stamina standpoint over a season. And for the position players, if you're going out there having to score 4 or 5 instead of 7 or 8, that I think psychologically that has a big impact. So I think that's what's more than anything else what I look forward to coming into the season.
I want to add to that because I want to give a little perspective. I'm just the same as you guys. Like when I know that Corbin Burns or Zach Gallen is pitching and I'm driving to the ballpark, I'm like, Corbin Burns and Zach Gallen is pitching. We got a really good chance tonight. We can do that 5, 7, 8 times deep now. I think that's a real credit to what Mike and his group has done.
And I see the line of questions we already have. Great time to ask these guys whatever questions you have. The last one from me. Look, you guys, a lot of success early, kind of before you got here, was with Boston. And one of the challenges you have when you come here is you're competing against market sizes, but there's also a level of franchise prestige. And so when the number one pitcher openly says, I want to come here, I see what they're doing, this is really the only spot I want it to be, what does that do to the prestige of this group moving forward?
Me? I think we're trying to create something here, right? We're trying to create a place where people want to come. And let's be honest, look, it's still a business. Guys are still going to go in free agency, as they should, to try to max out for the rest of their lives and their families and all that other stuff. But when things become equal, when things boil down to minor separations, and which is what happens in this league, yeah, some of the teams with the prestige do get some of those 50-50 calls. And we want to, where we are here in the city with the fan base, with our spring training facility, that we train here, that we play here, we want to create that somehow, some way. I think we're starting to. I think one of the things as players get into free agency and get older is they want to sign and think, there's good young players on the roster that are going to be my teammates for the next 4 or 5 years. No matter what I do, I'm still, there's still going to be a good team here that's going to be competitive and have a chance to win. And that's what we're trying to create more than anything else, because I think that speaks the loudest to the free agents when they're considering coming here.
I think it's such a good point. All right, what questions do we have? Vanessa.
Thank you. All right, first up we have Jeffrey.
How are you? I've been a season ticket holder since '98. My question is for both of you. One of the hottest players on this team last year was Adrian Del Castillo. And halfway through September, he was sent down. To my aggravation and upset. I'd like to know why he was.
Torey sent him down. I said no. That's amazing.
We got into a big fight about that, and he
said
he
no,
wanted
you
to send
should
him
not
down.
send him down.
I said we got to keep him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lie. That's not what happened. That's not. So with Adrian's case, I totally understand from an offensive perspective. He did a tremendous job for us. Absolutely. In the position he plays, unfortunately, defense reigns, and going out prioritizing defense, especially at that time of the year, was the single biggest driving factor when we had Herrera and Moreno back, and that's why we made the decision we did. You know, it's not. Sometimes we can make the choice to keep a guy for an offense, just offense only. In that case, with that position, we just weren't able to do it at the time.
He said he wants to follow up on this.
I'm not giving up on this. First of all, obviously Marino was going to be the catcher for the last 2 weeks of the season. Herrera can't hit. There's no reason.
Is Herrera still here?
They can't hit that. No, this is no joke because I was really aggravated. I paid for this team to win, and I want a winning player out there, and that might have cost you the playoffs because he was a heck of a hitter and you only lost by 1 game.
He will meet you in the parking lot.
That's fair. I'll be standing behind Torey.
I promise you, those are points well taken. We have 50-50 balls that are very, very difficult decisions throughout the course of the year. We have a lot. We get into a lot of in-depth conversations in my office, and we think we're doing the best thing. Every once in a while, we may not. We know that you're going to see it through your eyes, but at the end of the day, we are doing our absolute best. I can assure you that. And we're also trying to build a relationship with you guys, and that relationship is built on a big word: trust. Trust that we're going hard every single day to make something really good happen so that relationship keeps building beyond just this group. We have to build faith. You have to have trust in us that we're doing it right, and there's a faithful execution here every single day that we're going to be okay, not today, but tomorrow and many years after that. And eventually we want to fill up this amazing stadium with awesome fans just like you guys.
Well said.
All right. They're coming in hot for you guys today. Next up, we have Brent.
Hi, I slightly disagree with the last comment about it costing us the season, and that leads into my comment. The commissioner cost us the season. What I wanted to know was, I know coming into the last week of the season, when the Mets and the Braves had their hurricane, and they had to move the games, that directly impacted our postseason. And Torey, I remember in the interview on Saturday night, you said that you believed that they would do the right thing. And I thought to myself, I already know what's going to happen. This is going to be a split series, and that is what happened. We can't control the weather. We can't control what the commissioner did. But I guess my question is, was there any follow-up? Like, did the commissioner ever say anything about like why they made the decision they did? In the past, there's been games that were moved that were, I can't help but think of the Carlos Zambrano no hitter in Milwaukee. I remember that. The hurricane in Houston. Did he ever say why it was such a critical game, 2 games? Did he ever offer an explanation? There's nothing we could have done about it, so it's something that I believe that we deserve an explanation on. That's why we didn't get it.
That's on your level, bro. I don't get that one. that doesn't cross my desk. I promise you. I said it the other day. We're keeping receipts on that one. We're really upset with the way that turned out, and we put it on ourselves. Believe it or not, like we should have won one more game, but to watch that, we had the whole team here with a watch party. It's probably one of the more difficult days of my managerial career to have to say goodbye to the team on that day. We came here with our bags packed, expecting to go somewhere, and when it doesn't happen, it was an extreme letdown. And I haven't forgotten that. And I promise you I will give you my best to never let that happen again.
All right, next up we have Brenly.
This is for the both of you. When building the team and choosing new players, which factor weighs more in your decision, talent or attitude?
But you make it seem like I build the team. You're the team builder, right?
Are you talking about coming out of spring training or when we're putting the team together like in the off season?
In the off season.
I think we probably skew more towards talent when we're making decisions on the roster in the offseason. We're trying to put as much talent onto the roster. But the attitude is definitely something we vet out as it relates to how it's going to fit in to the clubhouse. So we ask a lot of questions around the league about players that we don't know. So one of the benefits of having a team that is talented and young and is here year over year over year, those aren't variables for us. Like, I know exactly Perdomo. I know everything about him. I know who he is in the clubhouse. I know what he thinks about him. I know what kind of leadership style he has. I know what his teammates think about him. And so I don't have to think about that. I don't have to think about Corbin Carroll or Alec Thomas or Jake McCarthy or Brandon Pfaadt or Ryan Nelson. I go down the line, right? That's what's so impactful of having a roster that we know, because when we're going outside, it's harder for us to get the truth or real information as hard as we try. So we start with talent, but we definitely do our background work on the attitude, because the makeup of your clubhouse matters over the course of 162 games. These guys, we are all together a long, long time. And any cracks in that will show up, I think, out on the field sometimes.
At the end of the day, we fight like brothers, right? It's impossible. But you always end up loving your brother. And I think the scouting department, he gave you that long list of players. That was vetted through our amateur scouting department that brought in the right players into the system that have been raised the Diamondback way. And you know the names he said: Perdomo, Thomas, Carroll. The wild cards are when you bring in somebody from the outside, and that's when the culture inside of the clubhouse takes over. Yeah, I'm watching it, I monitor it. He's doing the same from a different landscape, but the players start to take over. And the brothers start to posture one another. And then when the dad has to get involved or the granddad has to get involved.
I'm way younger than he is. Way.
Well, okay. Anyways, when it gets to that level, we jump in. But I expect a lot of the players that you've met up here today, a lot of them, they're very, very responsible young men. They're great people that happen to be really talented baseball players. So the combination of both is possible, and that's what we have here right now.
All right, our next question is from Jeff, and it's for Torey.
Yeah, I know we're pretty well stacked on pitching, but do you ever see in your career that any of our pitchers will ever get to throw more than 100 pitches?
Okay. How much time do we have? All right. There have been a lot of studies from people that are very smart. There's not that many Nolan Ryans and Steve Carltons out there anymore. There are, but we got to protect them. And I just know at a certain point in time, there is a cliff that they will fall off of in game. And I spend a lot of time paying attention to where that cliff is. I'm having conversation with pitchers now that will overlap with what's going to happen during the season. And I'm taking inventory about where they are, what their comfort level is, and certain pitchers have been brought up today in today's game because of this 100-pitch magic number that they don't feel comfortable going beyond 100 pitches. So once in a while, Zach Gallen will come to me, and I'll walk down there and ask how you're doing, and he'll give me this: I got 115 pitches in me today. Leave me alone. But believe it or not, it's a partnership between me, the pitcher, and the medical team about what's the most important thing about today, tomorrow, and the next day. And when I put somebody in behind that guy that ends up walking the batter, I didn't ask for that walk or a home run, right? I'm not expecting that to happen. It just is a part of the game. And that's where we gotta really kind of invest our time, my time, into the right situation to put the right guy in the game behind that guy. So I am very well aware of taking out a guy at 100 pitches is extremely unpopular. But at the end of the day, I got to do what's best for that player on that day and then beyond, because I care about these guys on a very deep level, and I want them to have a 10-year career. I want Zach Gallen to pitch for another 15 years, and I'm very mindful of that every single day.
All right, Torey, you're doing great up there today. Coming in hot. Let's give him a round of applause for these answers. Yes. All right, we got a follow-up here from Jeff.
One other question, because I know everything's analytics. How does a left-handed hitter get to hit left-handed pitching if you never let him bat? If you're using old numbers, how's he ever supposed to get better?
You and I need to go have some coffee together. I like where you're at. I love where you're at. All right. Okay. Once again, a point well taken. You're from that school that's probably about 25 years ago, and I appreciate that because that's where I grew up too. I grew up in that portion of the game. So if I have Jock Peterson on the bench, I'm sorry, let's use it, overlap the same way you did. Jock Peterson is at the plate, and he has not shown over the period of time in his career that he has been able to hit. Yes, and I'm going to rely on the data, but I've had 75 conversations with Jock Peterson leading up to that decision. And I have Randall Grichuk on the bench and a man at third base and one out, and I'm getting hungry and I want to go home and I want the game to be over. I'm choosing Randall Grichuk every single time. I'm sorry. So it's not, and development is a big portion of what we do here, right? Development is a real thing. You have to engage and pay attention and evaluate and see what's going on. Then you have to engage with others to try and fix the problem, and then you have to apply your coaching. We have certain players that just have a really hell of a time hitting certain pitches against certain guys, and we are trying every single day to make sure that left on left is never an issue.
We've got time for one more question before we have to let these two go, so fire away.
All right. He doesn't want to share his name, but he says you know him.
I'm going to keep this a little more lighthearted. You've been getting some pretty heated fastballs coming at you there, Torey. When's the next time we're going to relive our basketball days, and I want to see you chuck some balls like you have been?
Whoa. Did I play basketball with you? You look like you went to Montclair Prep. Did you go to Montclair Prep?
Right, yeah, buddy.
Oh my God. I went to a high school with like literally 45 high school seniors. And the fact that you're in the stadium, it's like we got struck by lightning. It's unbelievable that happened. Yeah, I love basketball. I spent a lot of time playing basketball with the staff. I try to create an environment, my staff, away from the baseball field where we can get away from the grind of what we do every single day. We're here all day, every day. It's an arrival at 11:30. I don't leave until midnight. I know I'm not asking for sympathy because there's everybody in this room works just as hard. But at the end of the day, I need some free time, turn off the mind, and just kind of let it roll with the boys and have some fun on the basketball court. And but you got to ask. Somebody's got to ask him a question. I feel terrible. I've answered like 15 questions.
He said last question. That was the last question. Good luck to the Dbacks,
He doesn't
everybody.
feel similarly. Manager Torey Lovullo, General Manager Mike Hazen, thank you, Advantage members, for being here today.